All right, guys, the WSOP 2026 schedule was just released, and every year, right around this time, everyone keeps asking the same question. What are the best tournaments I should be playing in Vegas this summer? And I'm gonna walk through it with you to highlight what are some of the big changes, some of the additions, and some of the tournaments that no longer exist. So overall, the structure, the location, the dates, are all pretty much the same. It's still going to be at the Horseshoe and Paris. It's still highlighting 100 bracelet events, and the dates are relatively the same from May 26th to July 15th. Now let's jump into some of the finer details. All right, here we got the schedule up. The very first notable change here is this $550 mini Mystery Millions. Last year, there was a 1K Mystery Millions here with two 1 million bounties and a bunch of other huge bounties. It looks like they're doing a mini version of that at the start of the series instead. And they didn't get rid of the 1K, they simply moved it back to start June 23rd. So that one's still there. But as you can see, they both are now 2 re-entries per flight instead of 1 as there were last year. So you're gonna have more chances to fire more billets. The prize pool is probably gonna be insane and even bigger than it was last year. All right, going through the next event, you can see it on screen, pretty much similar to last year. We have the 5K, we have the 5K 8 max up front, the employees $550 event, and then the next notable change we have here is the 25K heads up, which is normally just a single flight with 64 players. They're now gonna have a day 1A, day 1B. If you get knocked out, you get to try again on day 1B if you wanna fork up another 25K. That's actually one of my favorite events. 2 years ago, I got second in it, just shy of my second bracelet. I'm definitely going to be playing that one this year. The next thing to notice here is an addition of this new tournament, $10,000 GG Millions, High Roller, Flight A and B, unlimited re-entries, 60-minute levels. This is a tournament they have done at WSOP Bahamas for the last few years, and it looks like they're kind of moving that GG Poker branding into the US, and they bought the World Series of Poker over the last few years in a deal that just completed not too long ago, and that's given the WSOP a lot more firepower, a much bigger team, a much bigger budget, and that's why you're seeing a lot of exciting things happen with the World Series of Poker brand, like the whole WSOP Bahamas series, the new app, the documentary I was a part of, and hopefully lots more fun stuff. The next thing to notice on this schedule is this June 2nd WSOP Event 16 $1,700 WSOP Circuit Championship. So that's really cool. 40-minute levels on day 1, 60 minutes on the later days, and up to 2 re-entries. Fun one for mid-stake players. Now the next change is one that's probably going to affect the most amount of players, and that's the Monster Stack has been moved from mid-June to the first week of June. Here you can see June 3rd, we're already going to have this massive Monster Stack event. For those of you who aren't familiar with this one gets about 10,000 entries over the course of 4 flights. Historically, it's been a freeze out per flight, but if you get knocked out, you could play the other flights. And now this year you could re-enter. So 4 flights and you could re-enter 1 time per flight. So that's a total of 8 possible bullets. So that's a total of 8 possible bullets. 8 possible bullets.
Wait, what?
Now with the Monster Stack, there has been a bit of an outrage from some players saying, hey, this used to be a really pure event. It was a freeze out with 2 flights. You still got a huge prize pool, and it really felt like people's main event. And then they added 3 flights, now 4 flights. Now you could re-enter in each one. And I definitely get it. To be honest, I kind of liked it as a freeze out as well. I'm definitely not against re-entries. You do hear a lot of people say that, but I think that's a little bit foolish, because if there was not re-entries, you wouldn't get the field sizes. You wouldn't get these massive prize pools. There's certain people that just wouldn't even show up unless they hear these huge numbers. So I do think re-entries are good and necessary for the sustainability of these events. That said, I do think there should be a variety, and I thought it was pretty nice that the Monster Stack was this semi freeze out, and then you have the Millie Maker where you could do a bunch of re-entries. It gives people some variety there. Now, let's think about it from a business standpoint if you're WSOP. Their goal is to generate the most amount of revenue, and of course, they should be thinking about reducing churn and making sure people come back. So the fear of having too many re-entries is that these tournaments get tougher, a lot of the money goes into the good players' pockets, and then some of the weaker players who are very important to the ecosystem over time run out of money and don't show up. And that's a very complicated thing to measure if you're just a customer. You know, if I was WSOP, I would be looking at user data and trying to understand, how many players there are that churn, disappear, never show up again, and how those metrics are impacted by having a lot of reentries versus one reentry versus freeze outs. But in general, I did talk to an executive at the WSB Bahamas about the reentry for that 25K super main. And one of the comments he made is, you hear some people uproaring on social media, but they represent a small portion of the majority. At the end of the day, people vote with their wallet. And with re-entries, we are seeing a lot more entries to the point that it's a no-brainer. So with that, I do think it makes sense for the WSB to have these re-entries. But again, I stand by my original point of leaving a few things as a freeze out, a semi-freeze out would be good. I really hope they don't mess with the 10K main event. That event just feels so pure. But again, it's hard to have strong opinions on this when you're not in the meetings with WSB and you don't have access to the actual data they have. So I always try to remember that when I'm forming an opinion with much more limited data than the actual people who are making the decisions on these things. For those of you mixed game enthusiasts, the $3,000 Torse, which was introduced in 2025, looks like it's here to stay. It's basically the same thing as Horse, except they substituted limit hold'em with triple draw, and it looks like the players are liking that one. The next change is in the mini main event, which is a very popular 1K buy-in, 30-minute levels that happens right before the main event. Instead of 2 flights, it's now gonna be 3 flights. So you get to fire some extra bullets in that one if you get knocked out early. And the last notable date change is this Gladiators of Poker $300 event. This used to run in June, and now it's pushed all the way back to July 8th, right after the main event starts. And that's going to be 2 re-entries per flight. And also mention some of the events that got removed. The 1500 shootout, that's a bummer because that's my event I want a bracelet in. It's also an event I really enjoy, but for whatever reason, it wasn't that popular. The Lucky 777, that was a very popular event. So interesting to see they got rid of it. I haven't followed the numbers the last few years. I don't know if it was dying down. 1500 PLO, Hall of Fame Bounty, Battle of Ages, all gone. And a lot of these are just events they're experimenting with. And then if they're not that exciting, they'll keep bringing in new events like you see some of the ones mentioned above here. The big change that's being made in the WSP 10K main event is they are bringing back a version of the November 9. For those of you who don't remember what that was, for a couple years, the WSOP would pause once they hit the final table and then bring everyone back in November to play it out. Now, they didn't say they're going to push it all the way till November this year. They just said it's going to be at a later date. So it's possible they're just waiting for their WSB summer circuit that ends on July 25th. It's possible it's going to be in August, September, October. I don't really know. We'll hear about that soon. And I don't know exactly their reasoning for doing that this time, but last time it was so that they can create some hype and advertisement about the event, do some character development around those 9 players. And personally, from a player standpoint, I definitely prefer it because it's very hard to get your friends and family coordinated and there when it just all happens so fast and you're busy playing 10 to 12 hours a day. Secondly, you're also exhausted at that point and just showing up at that final table as a zombie, just in pure adrenaline mode. So it's really nice to get a break there. The big thing this will change from a strategic standpoint is people are going to be able to get coaching during that period. So they're going to be able to show up playing a higher level of poker, and you really should at that point. It'd be foolish not to. I know a lot of people, don't want to mess up their game, but I think a good coach understands how to give you advice in a way that doesn't change your game too much in too short of a period, and it would still be very beneficial, especially with how different and unique final table ICM play is from the rest of the tournament. And of course, there are a lot of people that don't care about the pay jumps and just care about winning. And if that's the case, you are still going to want to understand ICM play because you're going to want to know what other people's ranges are going to look like and then how you want to adapt based on that. And that brings us to the next point, the Summer Circuit Series. You can see on the screen here, it's going to run from July 14th all the way to the 25th. Range of buy-ins from 400 all the way to 5,000, so quite large Summer Circuit Series. So this is cool for anyone who comes out later in the summer around the main event time, or people who just want to extend their trip. I certainly will consider staying longer. I normally leave around July 18th after the last bracelet event. Now that this is going on, I might stay all the way till the 25th. They got some good mid-stake stuff in there as well. I saw an 1100, a 2200, there's the 1700 main event, a 5K high roller, a 3300 high roller. So really something for everyone from low stakes to mid stakes. Now I will say the circuit events or MSPT events that happen in Vegas are definitely very different than the typical circuit and MSPT events, because normally it's just your local crowd, very soft. And the reason, and when I say soft, I mean easy, not a lot of strong players. And the reason these events are so soft is because there's not enough buy-ins for a high stakes or even a mid stakes pro to justify flying in, paying the travel cost when you only get, a few thousand in buy-ins. But in Vegas, a lot of people already live there. A lot of people are already there for the bracelet events. So now you're going to get much more of a mix. Maybe half of that WSOP circuit crowd and half of these mid-stake pros and stronger players who are already in town. So probably a little bit tougher field than your typical circuit event, but still worth playing. So yeah, to summarize, I'm pretty happy with what I've seen here with the WSOP 2026 schedule. I do wish that Monster Stack stayed or freeze out, but that's just me personally. Tell me what you guys think about the schedule in the comments. Love to hear what you like or don't like about it, or what you'd like to see WSOP consider changing in the future. As always, I'm going to be out there the entire WSOP, and if you are a jockacoaching.com member on my training site, or even a member on my weekly newsletter at farazjocka.com, you're welcome to join the meetups we do in Vegas. This is a great way to connect with other players, with some of our coaches, and of course, I'll be giving out weekly poker tips, hand breakdowns, WSOP logistics, and travel hacks. So make sure you're on that newsletter. There's going to be a lot of value given out every week from now till the end of the World Series. Just visit farazjocka.com to get on there. It's free. I hope you guys found this valuable. If you did, hit the like and subscribe button so you can know when I release my next video. And I'll see you guys in the next one.